Welcome to another episode of the Nashville Dads. This episode, we have on Brandon Styll of Nashville Restaurant Radio. We talked about pretty much everything and had a lot of fun. Also, as a heads up, this is our first episode with cursing. We hope you enjoy.
Anyway, Justin, this is new for us. We are in Brandon's studio recording this episode.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful. It's fun. I think, Justin, is this your first experience ever being in like a studio like this?
Oh, yeah.
That's really fun. That's cool.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Yes.
Yeah,
so
you.
If we ever get on top of it and get serious about this is
this is what our dream is.
This is what our dream
This is what you do.
Like.
You come in here and you've got a spot.
You talk for a while. But it's funny to record at your studio, to record a Nashville Dads episode in your studio. So thank you for hosting us.
I'm happy to have you. No, I mean, if you've got a studio that sits empty most of the time, you're like, hey, let's record. We can record in his kitchen, or why don't you just come to the studio? I'm here anyway. This makes sense.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I have. So my wife, it's so funny because she started listening to the podcast recently. She didn't listen for a long time. And I'm like, you should listen. I think it's good. You'll learn a lot about me. And she goes, you're different on the podcast. And I go, why is that? She goes, no, you're like focused. Yeah. Because you're focused and you're engaged in the conversation. I go, that's because when I'm at home, I have a cell phone and kids and this and the dog. And like, I'm ADD as it is, but in here, there's no windows. There's no clocks. Yeah. It's like you're in a casino. It's like I walked out of it and I'm like, oh, it's dark. Like, you have no idea. So when you get in here and you get on these mics and you get headphones on and you start looking at somebody and you start getting into a conversation, you can get really focused in a conversation without any distractions. And I think it just makes for such better content.
All you need now is just that oxygen flow.
Yeah, exactly.
Stay up all night.
That's right. I have a poker table in the next room, by the way.
Do you really?
All right.
Yeah, sometimes we do poker nights in here. It's kind of a man cave also.
Yeah, it kind of is, yeah.
Because it's like, I've got the whole curtain and I've got the whole room and I have a table I pull out and I've got a poker table in the middle. I got the TV. So Sunday Night Football, Thursday night, we watch hockey, whatever in here. We can just kind of dudes get together and play cards. I'm a sober guy, so I've got friends in that community who we like to hang out and not drink. Yeah. It's lots of fun.
It is fun.
Yeah. I'm going on a year and a half of no drinking.
Congratulations. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. I would do it too much and black out. So... And
that's a thing that leads people to that path.
Yes. Yeah. Especially right before having a kid, I was just like, all right, I need to change.
I should probably clean this up a little bit.
That's right.
Yeah.
How's the kid experience been for you sober?
It's
obviously you don't know any other way, but
yeah, I think So I work for a landscape company. I'm partner and executive operations manager. So I have a high stress job, and then having a kid for the first time, a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety. So I did not handle it very well. I had to do therapy, psychiatrist, get on some meds, but now I'm good.
But that means like alcohol is kind of a coping mechanism.
It
meant that you actually, since you weren't drinking, you leaned into your discomfort to some extent.
Yes, yeah.
Which is worth noting.
Alcohol was just masking.
Correct. Or numbed you out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it does for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean, do you go to like meetings or anything?
No, I just quit like that. Whew. July 4th, 2021.
That's impressive. I do the meetings and I go through the 12 steps and the whole thing. It's an amazing process. Yeah. Because the second that you stop drinking and you lose that ability to numb those emotions, all of a sudden you're overwhelmed with emotions and you're like,
oh man,
is this a clean podcast? This probably is a clean podcast, isn't it?
For the most part, we don't curse too much, but like,
go for it. Be yourself.
If you curse,
be yourself.
We'll do like a little disclaimer. For instance, hey, there's cursing on this.
No,
so if that
I
makes
don't
you
want to be that
uncomfortable,
guy. Listen,
you can be that guy.
No, do it.
But you're like, what the hell? Like, what are these things? Why am I like raging right now? Mm-hmm. And I don't understand. Like, I didn't understand what was going on. Yeah. And then you go, oh, and then I would go meditate or I would call somebody and I would say, what's happening to me right now? I'm so mad. And like, why do you feel like you're mad? And then I had to like walk through it and have to sit in that discomfort and be like, I'm upset at something that's completely trivial, that's out of my control.
Yep.
And then that serenity prayer comes in and you go, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. And the power in that small thing right there, that power in accept the things I cannot change my life. Because I would all of a sudden I would go, oh, I can't control that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's fine.
And I'd move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
That is one, like, the main thing
Yeah.
is control.
Mhm.
You have no control, and
Yeah.
you have to realize that. Once you realize that, then it all makes sense, or at least for me, it did.
I think it's a lot of learning how to hold two definitions at once. So you aren't in control, but you also have to exert some form of control. So you have to hold both of those at the same time, and that's exhausting and leads you to drinking.
Yep.
So
It led me to a lot of books. It led me to a lot of realizations about myself that
Mhm.
were painful. And I quit October 28th, 2019.
nice.
Okay.
So I was a good 5 months in, and then the pandemic happened.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so I firmly believe in the higher power thing. And I'm like,
Cool.
God spoke to me and blessed me with the ability to go through the pandemic completely
That's awesome,
sober,
man.
Yeah.
where I had 100%. These are my decisions. I don't, because I wouldn't be married right now. I
Yeah.
wouldn't, I would have so many issues right now if I was drinking during the pandemic, because that would be the only way I knew how to cope with everything. And then being equipped with tools to go through something that was that challenging was really, I mean, it saved my life. It was amazing. When I say do the steps, like, and I just did a podcast about this the other day, because once you get into the steps, you like want to tell everybody.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
honey, you need to do the steps. And
Yeah.
she's like, but I'm not an alcoholic. And you're like, no. Let me tell you how amazing this is.
Yeah.
There's a fourth step, and I'm not promoting any. I'm just saying that the 12 steps are really cool.
Yeah.
And the fourth step is one of those things where you have to write down every single resentment that you have. Right. So you have to go over your entire life.
Yeah.
And this is
Ooh, that's deep.
that girl in second grade that didn't, will you go to the dance with me? And she said no.
Yeah.
Like, you got to write that shit down. And like, the entire thing is all of your resentments. Then you have to like process them. And then you got to like, there's all these steps to go through with those resentments. And you have to like make amends where you can and all this stuff. But then you let it go.
Yeah.
Right. You tell somebody what they all are. You have a sponsor and you tell them what they are. And then you let them go. And it's the most amazing process I've ever been through in my life, because you live with this guilt of this resentment. And I say it's like this water bottle, right? When I'm done with this, I'm actually gonna take it home and put it in a recycling bin. But if it's a coffee cup, right, you throw it in the trash. You're done with it, you throw it in the trash. And most resentments you get done with, but you hold on to them. And imagine if every coffee cup and every bit of trash you had, you just kind of held it behind you like with a sack. Yeah. Eventually they get really, really heavy.
Oh, yeah.
And so this process, it basically just lets you drop that bag of trash into the dumpster and go, I don't have to think about that anymore. I can move on with my life. And it's like this, this fresh air, and you shoulders. Go. And then when you make amends to people and you call people and you say, hey, look, I want to, I'm sorry I did this, or whatever it is, it's an amazing process. And you go, I don't have to worry what that person thought. I don't have to live with this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Then all of a sudden you're like, I can just go live the rest of my life now. Yeah. This is amazing. And it takes all that weight off of you. And so there's the steps are really amazing, because it doesn't address, I'm going to drink this drink right now. It addresses the reasons why you drink.
Yeah.
Which I had no clue any of that even existed until I did that. And then I went, holy cow, like, this is really amazing.
Have you ever read any Richard Rohr books?
Nope.
Okay, he has one called Breathing Underwater, in which it goes through the 12 steps of AA, and it relates it to everyday life. Because the reality is you're addicted to multiple things. You're addicted to power, you're addicted to safety, you're addicted to all these different things.
Oh, so many things.
So this book basically goes through all of them and is like, hey, you probably think this is an AA thing, but you're addicted to something. And here's how you need help.
It still manifests itself in other ways in my life.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like I'm like, oh, I'm cured. I mean, like, I love scratch off tickets or whatever. Like, if it's working in my yard, I get all in on something. I mean, my biggest challenge in life is finding balance.
Yeah. It's the concept of, he refers to it as shadow boxing. So like, no matter what happens, your shadow is always with you. So like, there's not a day where you're not an alcoholic. You will always have to deal with your desire to drink alcohol, no matter what. Mm-hmm. And I think in American culture, we always view it as the wording of like conquering. Like, I'm going to conquer my alcoholism. And it's like, No, you're not.
No, you're not.
You're not.
It's always going to be
And
there.
whenever you say you have, that's when your alcoholism is one. So you have to learn how to basically box with yourself.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, every time that I go out with my friends and they're drinking, like this past Tuesday, I was out with my friends. I smelled the beer. I was like, it's like, that smells good. And he was like, I'll pull it away.
Yeah. Because I think that's part of becoming a dad and becoming an adult is you start to realize, like, if I start to go down this path, every version of myself that I become is nothing I'm proud of. Yep. So you start to say, I can't become this person anymore because it doesn't benefit anyone in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, similar to your situation, I probably would not be married as well. I quit the first time, 2018, and I said, all right, I'm going to do a year. And 2019 came, I started drinking again, but no bourbon, because bourbon and whiskey were like my go-to. And then a year and a half later, I couldn't do it. I just kept on drinking and drinking. Just I instead of having whiskey or bourbon, it was tequila. And
that makes sense to you because you're like, well, it's not whiskey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still don't remember what I did last night, and I have 4 apology phone calls to make, but it wasn't whiskey.
It wasn't whiskey. I think one thing that exists a lot that I don't know if it gets talked about is I call it like not as badism, in which you look at someone, you're like, well, I'm not as bad as this.
Well, comparing.
Yeah. So you're just consistently, because I that's more my thing is to be like, well, I'm not as bad as this person. I'm like, yeah, but you're still being a jerk. So it doesn't matter.
100%. There's a book called Atlas of the Heart.
Okay, I haven't read that one yet.
Brene Brown. Are you guys familiar with Brene Brown?
Yeah.
Yep.
So she wrote a book and she talks about comparison and how we compare, like, all the time. It's unconscious how much we compare. She said, I like to swim. She goes, and I swim in a pool and I do laps. She goes, but if I don't watch myself, I'll get hurt because whoever's swimming next to me, I start racing them. They have no idea, but I'm like, I'm going to race them because I got to go faster than them. And if you've ever been on the interstate and somebody's driving at like 67 miles an hour in the fast lane, and then you get around them, then they speed up. And you're like, it's just a natural,
you can't
just
get there
constantly
first.
compare and we're competitive.
Yeah.
That's
Competition. Competition.
We just want to do that.
It's a fascinating like instinct survival thing that exists within all of us.
It's not healthy.
It doesn't help a lot with friendships.
No, it's not healthy. It's not a good thing at all.
So since you do your own podcast, you've done it for what, like 2 or 3 years now? Is that right?
March will be 3 years.
Sweet. Do you feel like you get to talk about being a dad too much, or do you just keep it to like restaurant life?
Man, I try and keep it to everything.
Yeah.
I don't
feel like you have many barriers on your podcast.
I
from what
don't.
listen to of it.
Yeah, I don't really. I'd like to. It's all hospitality based. I mean, some episodes are the episode I'm putting out tomorrow is with the COO of A. Marshall Hospitality. His name is Lyle Richardson, and it was very much a in-depth inside baseball restaurant operations podcast. But we're talking with Andy Little from Josephine next week, and it's going to be a live show where my co-host Caroline Galzin, she just I like the format where she looks in the news, Nashville Business Journal, The Scene, Bon Appetit, whatever, Food and Wine. Yeah. And she finds interesting articles and she just brings them up and then we just talk about them.
Oh, that's cool. So it really is kind of like a radio show.
It's a more topical, this is what's going on in the industry. What are your thoughts on that? And that way it's not me interviewing somebody or her interviewing somebody. It's more of a conversation around it. 3 people, 4 people just kind of talking. Yeah. And I'm really excited to do that episode. We call it the Roundup. And I kind of want to change the whole format to that. Yeah. But I've been very intentional about not being too intentional. I've always kind of said, like, I don't work for somebody. The cool thing about a podcast, I don't have somebody saying, you need to do this kind of episode today. And I'm like, if it goes way off the rails, I'm like, great.
Yeah.
I don't care. Like, it just, as long as it's interesting.
Yeah.
Then I started off and I did all these, like, tons of research on people. And I would research people for hours and hours and on end. And then I would go back and listen to the interview that I did after I did that. And I wasn't listening to people at all.
Yeah.
I was just constantly looking at my notes going, So tell me about this. And I'm like,
thinking of the next question.
I'm thinking of the next question. And then I'm like editing. I go back today and I go back to my old episodes. If I do a rerun or something.
Yeah.
And I just kick myself because I'm like, I missed such an amazing response that guy gave me to the question. And then I followed up with another question because it was on my list.
Yeah.
And so I really I have like a general idea of what I want to do.
Yeah.
And then I just let it go wherever it goes.
Cool.
Wherever it ends, I'm like, that was fun.
Yeah.
I also want it to be an hour long so we'd get past PR speak. It's not just, well, at our restaurant, we really like our core values. And this, it's like, I want to get into some of the real stuff.
Yeah.
And we don't talk about food. I try not to talk about food.
Okay, nice.
Because it's about people. Everything is about people in the industry. And I want to, there's not really an avenue for people, chefs and restaurateurs, to tell their stories. Food Network is celebrity chefs. But
yeah, it's very different.
If I'm going out somewhere, I want to learn about the people who are preparing my food and what their inspiration was and why. And I like to tell that story, but I don't need to talk about your meatballs or, let's just, if you're interesting enough and you think that guy's a really cool guy and you want to go try what he's doing, then do it. Yeah. But I need you, what's your favorite appetizer on the menu? I don't want to do that. I have 2 restaurants also that I run.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
which ones do you run?
The Green Hills Grille and Mare Bowl.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
So I'm the director of operations for both. That's my day job. That's my main occupation.
Green Hills Grill closed and reopened at one point in time, right? Were you in charge of it for the first iteration or just for the second?
No, just for the last. I've been 4 years now.
Cool.
So 2018, I came on board. Left in 2019, and then came back.
Cool.
Post-pandemic, but I started my consulting company, and then they were 2 clients of mine. I wanted to move back from being in the restaurant as much and help other people, with operations in restaurants. So ultimately came back because it was needed, and it was, I love the places. They're amazing restaurants.
What got you into restaurants?
So I was 16. I got a job at Taco Bell.
Nice.
And then Pizza Hut and Taco Bell. So I worked at Taco Bell in the morning until 4, and then I go to Pizza Hut and make pizzas until midnight.
Okay.
Like every day when I was 16.
Yeah.
Right. So that was just my gig. When I was 18, I got a job at J. Alexander's, and that was really kind of my first experience in like serving and like, and I really liked it. I liked it because I like to live on the edge of chaos. Like, I really do. Like, I'm not comfortable unless I'm uncomfortable. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a weird place to be. I just read a book called The Comfort Crisis by Michael Easter.
Yeah.
You've heard of that. It's an amazing book, but it's about stepping outside your comfort zone. But I love that. I love chaos. In restaurants, you never knew. Every day you get up, and however they draw it up, it never happens that way.
Yeah.
And you have to adjust. And it's just, I love that. It's one of those things that like made me alive, and I enjoyed the people. I mean, the people, there's such a diverse group of people, and you learn so much dealing with the public and the friendships you make. I think the cliche term is that it's like being on a pirate ship, It's just all the inmates running the asylum kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And it is. It's kind of crazy, and it's exciting. And then I was 22 years old and I got into management.
Okay.
Worked at Amerigo, and I got into management. I was 22 and did that for a few years. Loved it. Just enjoyed leading people and really leaning into what it means to lead people. And I thought I was pretty good at what I did. So if I could share that with other people, I got married, and my wife said, get out of the restaurant business.
Yeah.
She's like, I don't like you working 75 hours a week.
Did you do mostly like front of house stuff, or were you like with line cooks?
Front of the house.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I was most of it. I did my level 1 sommelier in 2001.
Okay.
Wow.
And so I loved being in the front of the house. But then I got into selling produce in 2005. I started selling produce with a company called Creation Gardens. And I did that for 3.5 years. And a company kind of stole me. They were called Fresh Point, which is a produce company. It's the largest produce company in the nation, but they have a big facility here in Nashville. And I was kind of kicking their ass.
We knew the landscape for Fresh Point.
Nice. Yeah, off Massman Drive.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Peachtree Landscape.
Yeah, so they're
self-promotion, Justin. Well done.
I like that. So that was a fun time. But I was I got really into working with chefs.
Cool.
I got into and so kind of the idea was all these distributors kind of tell chefs, you have to order by 4, you have to do this, you have to order full cases, you have to do all these things. And I kind of went, what if we treated chefs on the vendor side like we treat our front of the house? So what if we actually brought service to chefs and started, like, what can I do for you? Like, what do you need? And really hustled for them and took away all the rules. And that's kind of what Creation Gardens wanted to do. They wanted to just take away all the rules and do it. And I love that. So I started working with chefs, and I did that for 14 years.
Wow.
So I left Fresh Point after 7 years, and I was at 3.5 years. I was a district sales manager at U.S. Foods. And I managed Memphis, Knoxville, Nashville, Florence, Huntsville, Decatur, Bowling Green. I was kind of the entire state. So I was in, over 1,000 restaurants, and I met chefs all over the place, and you really learn so much about what they're going through, and not just in one area. You're all over the state, so you can actually learn something from this guy and go share it with another guy. And hey, look, have you tried this? Have you tried this? And so it was really fulfilling for me to do that until Steven, who owns the restaurant, said, hey, you should come back into the restaurant.
I miss you.
My wife said, okay, like, you want to do that? And it's my passion.
Yeah.
And so here we are.
That's a good
Here we
passion
are
to have.
today.
When were your kids born? Or how many kids do you have?
I have kids.
Wait, you don't have kids.
4 full-time jobs.
Over. Yeah, right.
No, I have a 9-year-old and I have a 7-year-old. So let's do the math there. So if it's 2020, they haven't had birthdays yet. So let's pretend like it's 2022, right? So a 9-year-old, he was born in 2013, right? Because 9 minus 22 is 13. Okay.
Yeah. You know, that's yeah.
So
we got the math. Yeah.
August 12th, 13 was I became a dad on that day.
Cool.
Okay.
And then April 24th, 2015, number 2, Matthew was born. So William and Matthew.
Both boys.
2 boys.
Yeah.
They're all boy.
Are they?
I mean, they play all the sports. I was their baseball coach, and we went to the pump track today down the street. So I rode my bike from here over to the pump track over by Fisk University.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
And there's like a bicycle, like a little track that you ride on.
Cool.
It's so fun. And my wife drove up with the boys and their bikes, and we rode bikes for like an hour, and we collect Pokemon cards.
Yeah.
That's our new thing.
Okay.
I did whenever I was a kid, so it's still weird to me.
You have any of those Pokemon?
I don't. I
if
wish
you do,
I did.
we need to talk.
Yeah.
They would die for those.
Yeah.
See, I never did Pokemon.
I
was Marvel Comics and football, baseball, and basketball cards.
I feel, Justin, you're what, like 3 or 4 years older than me?
38.
I'm 35. So I feel like those 3 years is the difference between Pokemon cards and not Pokemon.
Yeah, I was never big into Pokemon.
Yeah.
I'd never won Pokemon card my entire life. I was when I was 12 years old, I would set up at baseball card shows, spend $50 and go rent a 6-foot table at the Holiday Inn on Briley Parkway. And I would have these glass cases, and I would set my cards out, and I would sell cards. I was 12.
Wow.
And I would sell cards, and I would turn around and buy more, like big time baseball card guy, like me, my whole life. I recently sold my collection to a guy at Fresh Point for like $200, and it was like 20,000 cards. I wish I would have had those right now, because I think they're worth more than I realized. But they were just taking up space, and I was like, I get rid of these things. Yeah. So now the kids are into Pokemon cards, and all they want to do is talk about Pokemon. Dad, I got this Flavion GX, and I'm like, I don't know.
I think those were words.
I don't know who Flaffy is and what a gold card is, and I don't know. I get Charizard and Pikachu and all these. I'm like, because I heard about Pokemon Go, but I don't know what they are.
I'm just saying words. I don't know what any meaning.
Yeah, I had nothing, and like so. Literally, I'm like annoyed by it.
Yeah.
Because I'm an adult and I'm trying to listen, and I'm like, you're speaking a language I don't speak. And so I bought some cards on Amazon that were, just some cheap $30. And there's like this stack of cards, and it was like all the best cards.
Yeah.
They weren't real. I didn't know this.
What?
I just bought these. They sell replica cards online. So I'm opening this pack, and I'm like, oh, I got a first edition Charizard. And I've got like, and it's like, I don't know what these things. My kids are like losing their mind over it.
Yeah.
And so before Christmas, we went down to this card shop. We had a guy tell us that all of our cards are fake, essentially. And I had bought them a bunch of like packs of cards. So they had a bunch of real cards.
Yeah.
And we, they get these little insert promo cards, whatever. So that day I went, well, let me buy a box. And I asked the guy, like, can you tell me about this? I don't care about the game. Tell me about the cards. Like, what is it? And he's like, oh, if there's a star in the corner, it means it's a rare. If it's a hollow, the hologram is going to be behind it. If it's a reverse hollow, it's this. This is more rare than this. And then I'm like, he's speaking to me that I can understand. He was like explaining to me things like, okay, so I get rarity, supply and demand, like what this is. Yeah. So every year there's 3 seasons or whatever. Well, I don't know how many seasons, but like these are their seasons. Right now we're in Silver Tempest, and Lost Origin was the last one. But and you can go online and look at what are the 10 best cards in Lost Origin. And there's all these insert cards. I'm like, well, shit, give me a box of Lost Origin. Give me a box of Silver Tempest. Let's rip these things. Let's have a good time. And so that began it for me. And I was like, oh, this is like gambling. This is like a new addiction for me. This is fantastic. So I'm opening packs. I'm like, look, I got a Charizard. What? You got a Charizard? And the dude there is like freaking out because I got this Lugia V card. And I'm like, yeah, look, check this out, man.
Like that one.
And So it was fun. So then I started collecting them, and then I started researching them, and I started finding out which ones are more valuable, and this and this and this and this. And so now when we go to the card shop, I buy cards and they buy cards, and they now have their allowances based around,
oh my gosh,
I want to save money so that we can go to the card shop with dad. And it's this massive bonding opportunity now.
That's great.
That I almost dismissed. And then I'm like, oh, that's actually, because they play Fortnite and they play Minecraft, and they spend every dollar that they get on skins and all this stuff. And it's like, so you've spent like $1,000 on skins that's on a game that
on your avatar.
Like, can you sell them? Like, I can gift them to something. Like, what happens in a year when you don't care about this game anymore? It means, so for me, I'm looking at it as a businessman. I'm like, oh, if you start buying Pokemon cards,
it's tangible.
These have real value that you can take somewhere and go, I will sell you this. And it's opened up a lot of conversations around supply and demand. Well, Dad, this card's worth $275.
Yeah.
How much could you sell it for? Probably $150. I go, well, then it's worth $150. He's like, no, it's worth $2. Like, no. What it's worth is what you can sell it for. That's what
Have you found someone to pay more than that? Then you can't sell it.
Then that's not what it's worth.
Yes.
That's how this works. But like, it's a concept they don't quite grasp yet. But the supply and demand side of how come this card is worth 16 cents and how come this card is worth $60?
Yeah.
When people really want something and there's very little of it, it creates scarcity, and scarcity creates value and all this stuff. And they're like, oh, and you just see their little eyes like opening up and like, that is so much better than a Fortnite skin.
Yeah, it
like,
is.
And I'm learning Pokemon. There's that German actually like, Pokemon, you're 43. Like, what the hell? And I'm like, but I have a decent little collection now. You know, I've got some pretty cool cards. And every night my kid comes, I was like, do you trade me for that Glaceon V? And I'm like, what do you got?
What do you got, man?
But now we can talk about it, and we actually do trade. Sometimes I'm like, here. And it's also great currency.
Yeah.
So when you need something done, you're like, hey, I need you to go clean the dog poop out of the front yard. I didn't want to. Do you want that Glaceon V Max?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do it.
I'll do it right now. Yeah.
All of a sudden, so there's like little currencies. Hey, if you guys are good, we're going to go do this. We're going to grandma's house. If you guys are good the entire time, you don't ask to leave one time. You do this and this. I'll give you a pack of cards.
That is a great idea.
But it's also, and they're opening it and they're excited about it. And it's something that has value.
Yeah.
That they can take with them and will grow in value. It's almost like it's like mini investing.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and there's also like a community that's in person with that. Like Fortnite and all those are all online communities, which aren't bad things.
Oh, they're not good things.
Yeah, I think I tried to play Fortnite once, and I was like, yeah, no, I'm too old for this. I don't know.
I tried playing with my nephews, and I was like, man, all my Halo skills just went out the window.
My fingers don't work. This isn't like the original Nintendo controller. I was a mad man at Mario Brothers.
How do I do
that? Dad, you got to hit the right, left with your finger and your pinky. And I'm like, no.
Yeah, my dad always told
Mario
me
Kart.
He'd try to play like GoldenEye with me, and he'd be like, I'm standing in the corner trying to figure out what this joystick does, and then you shoot me in the head. And I'm like, yeah, that's how the game plays. And he's like, no, you're just being mean.
I love it. So that's so yes, I've got two boys.
Cool.
They're 7 and 9. They're 18, 20 months apart.
Okay, yeah.
So they're like the same height. Everybody thinks they're twins. Yeah. They're best friends. They're biggest enemies. It's everything.
I have basically a 7 and a 5-year-old. Their birthdays are like in the next 3 weeks, and they're both girls. And I'm terrified of whenever they will be 17 and 15. It's just like I feel like I need to get them their own separate rooms, their own separate closets, own separate everything, because I know they're going to look for every reason to fight and be each other's throats. So I'm not really looking for.
They share a room right now?
They do, yeah. They have a bunk bed.
Okay.
We're enjoying it while we can.
Yeah.
What about you, Justin?
I just have a 16-month-old.
Just have the one.
Yep, just the one. And that's one of the main reasons why we started this podcast is I know nothing about being a dad.
I do also have a third kid. So, but the two, my girls are in the same age. So my son is like 5 days older than his girl.
Oh, okay. So you guys have little kids, just barely walking.
Yeah. And we live right down the street from each other.
So
no kidding.
Justin and I we'd go to like a pancake breakfast on the street or something like that. And Justin would ask me like questions about being a dad.
I was scared of being a dad. And every time we hung out, I was like, all right, tell me. You've got all this wisdom, all this knowledge,
all these experiences of failure. I think is actually,
but that's what being a dad and being a parent is.
It really is.
It is.
Yeah.
There's a great book called Scream Free Parenting.
Okay.
I don't know who wrote it. I can tell you. I can look it up. But it's the most impactful book that I read as a parent because kids don't do what you tell them to do.
Mm-hmm.
They may, when they're really young, you tell them to like, okay, daddy, and you're like, but once they
don't want your approval
like
anymore.
3 and 4, 5 and 7. You're like, and he's just like, no. And you're like, excuse me?
Yeah.
Like, do you not know? You're not the boss of me. Like, no, I am. Actually, I'm one thing I am the boss of. It is you. I'm the CEO of you.
Yeah.
That is a joke from a comedian that I can't take credit for that. But Screen-Free Parenting it's interesting because it's all about personal accountability. Okay. Right. There's a book called QBQ. I do love. I have a book club.
Yeah.
It's John G. Miller writes a book called QBQ, and there's a QBQ of parenting the QBQ way. It's the question behind the question, and what it basically trains you to do is stop asking victim or blaming questions. How come they never drive the way I want them to? How come they always do this? How come they never listen to me? Like, what can I do to make them listen better?
Yeah.
Insert yourself into the answer of it. And part of the Screen-Free Parenting is that one thing you'll hear your wife say is you go, William is driving me crazy today. The kids are driving me crazy. And I go, really? They're 4 and 6. You're 40.
Yeah.
How are they controlling you?
Sure.
Like, you're a grown-ass adult and you can't handle that, which is a very insensitive thing to say to your wife, by the way. Don't ever do that when the kids are driving her crazy.
I'm the stay-at-home parent, so my wife would be saying that to me.
Okay, so
same here. Even though I'm not the stay-at-home parent, but yes, my wife does the same thing.
So kids innately, all they want to do is they want to get a reaction from you, right? So when they know that there's behaviors that they're going to do that elicit a reaction, and when you are in control of yourself at all times, when you don't allow them to control you, all of a sudden it changes the entire game. You don't scream, you give options, right? So it's a Matthew won't get in the bathtub. It's driving me crazy. And you go, okay, why is it driving you crazy? Like, what about that is driving you crazy? And does he know that? So stop, take a deep breath and say, hey, Matthew, I'm going to give you 2 options. Okay, number 1 is you're going to get in the bathtub and you're going to take a bath. Number 2 is you don't have to take a bath. You get to make that choice. But if you don't do the bath, then you have to go to bed directly right now and you don't get a story read to you tonight and you don't get any of your gaming tomorrow. Unplugging all your gaming, you don't have it. That's not fair. Those are your options. I'll let you make a decision and I'm going to count to 5. And at the end of those 5 seconds, you're going to get to make a decision and that's going to be your decision. Okay, so 1, okay, I'll get in the bathtub. Yeah. Great, get in the bathtub.
And you do have to keep it to 2 options. If you do more than 2, it's just
gets 2 out of.
And 3 is a wild card option.
Yeah.
If you dress like a flamingo and run up and down the street twice yelling "Mommy rules," then you don't have to do anything.
Then you get a full chocolate cake to yourself.
You get a whole chocolate cake. Don't do that one. But you have to keep your calm, and you can't let a 5-year-old change your behavior because you're the adult. You're the one who. You can't control me. They don't control. Only you control you. And it's a whole book around that. Yeah. I'm not doing it justice, but it's really powerful when you grasp it and you go, "Oh, you mean I'm in control of me? Of me only? That's it? Cool. Okay."
I think I have to read that book because that can go with your kids, but it can also be used, especially in my field, the control part. They cannot control you. So I think that'd be.
They don't control you.
Yeah.
Nobody else controls you.
But I need to remember that.
QBQ,
it's hard to remember.
QBQ is a good book because it changes the way you think about everything versus the second that you say, in my world, right?
Yeah.
How come they never run my food? How come I never get the good table? Well, just saying that makes you feel like a victim and it will spiral. All of a sudden, the rest of your day, it's I never, and it's like, you're an adult.
Yeah.
Find a solution, right? So instead of saying, how come they never see me at the good table? What can I do to ensure there's equity in how these tables are being sat? Yeah. I'm going to go talk to a manager. I'm going to say, hey, I'd like to find out what I can do to work with a rotation. Is there a way in which I can input how we do the rotation? Because I feel like it's not equitable for everybody. Like there's some people that get different tables. If they're wearing a suit, they tend to go to Teddy over here. And I don't feel like that's fair, but I want to find a solution to that. And it's like, yes, we can help you find it. I'd love for you to get involved there. And then you can actually do the work and find an answer. And then you feel empowered.
Yeah.
You're like,
beautiful.
Wow, look what I just did. How come they never run my food? What can I do to ensure my food gets ran? Yeah. Again, balance is everything, but like understanding your role in things and saying, changing that perspective to what can I do to, instead of why don't they? Every time somebody starts using the word they, I clock out. I just check out.
Yeah. I think someone told me, or my wife told me, that most little kids' job is to test limits. So it's your job to help them understand what their limits are in a calm, respectful, loving way. Because your kid's job is to be like, what if I do this? What if I do this? What if I do this? What
Every day, all day.
Every single day. What about this? Will you still love me now? I have to. No, I mean, yes, I will.
There's a principle, and I go back to this all the time. Books. There's another book called The 1 Minute Manager by Ken Blanchard.
Okay.
Like the definitive book on management, written like 30 years ago, and it's the #1 best-selling all time. It's like an hour-long read. But I'll give it to you right now, the whole book. What he says is 1 minute goal setting, 1 minute praising, and 1 minute redirection. Right? So the goal setting is sitting down and getting on the same page with somebody. Hey, look, let's talk about our expectations. This is what is expected today. We're crystal clear on what our expectations are, right? Are we on the same page? Everything's good? Everything's good. Do you have any objections to it? Let's talk about them if you do. Nope, we're good. Everything's good. My expectation, your expectations, we align. Excellent. Let's go. And then if it happens, tell them, thank you. You did a great job. I really appreciate you doing that. And if they don't do that, redirect them. Hey, remember that conversation? Hey, you kind of this, then it's just a little bit of keeping them in the lines and pushing them a little bit, right? That's parenting.
It is pretty much.
You have to say, because they will find every loophole in the world. Hey, I need you to clean the dog poo. I did. Well, it's ever. No, you didn't tell me how much to do. You just said go clean that one. I did the one.
Technically fulfilled.
I have fulfilled the thing you told me to do, and that's that test and limits.
Yep.
You have to be so specific and so clear, and then say, "Are we on the same page? I understand that when I do this," and then you congratulate. Then they get that endorphin rush of, "Great job, buddy! Like that was amazing. That was really good." Or a good conversation around clarification, but like it's all about understanding and being on the same page and communicating effectively.
Yeah.
I have to give a caveat for all the advice and books and all the things that I've read. Like, none of that works in my house, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, it's all in
It's all
theory.
theory.
Just
It's
let
all
you know,
theory.
like, this is all theory. We try.
Yeah. It's all trial by error.
Do I lose my mind every once in a while?
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah. And
When the dog is barking and the cat is on the couch, and then one of the kids is like throwing something and it like hits the TV, and you're like,
what the?
Yeah, I mean, there's an eruption moment, and I think that's just because we're human.
And then you reread the chapter that says why you should keep your cool.
But it's more external factors to that. I think that there's I told my wife, I said, I just feel like I get home sometimes and I'm on E. You know, you got two restaurants, you do these podcasts, you do a podcast, it's emotional. Like, you get into them and you're talking to people, and it's like, you get done and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
All right, let's go run a restaurant today, you know? And so there's a lot of, you get home and I'm just like, I'm on E. I ain't got it. Like, let's talk about Pokemon cards, dude. I can't. I'm so sorry now. That's the reality.
Yep.
Have you
It's really hard.
Have you researched like male initiation rites that much since you have two sons?
No.
Okay, so there's a thing. Okay.
Tell us.
Yeah, sure.
Male initiation, right?
So in America, we have really.
That's not like circumcision, right?
It is actually, yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So like that's a form of male initiation rites. So in America, we don't really have male initiation rites. So like, when did you become a man? For people who grew up like in World War II, is whenever they went and fought in war and came back home. A lot of people assume you buy a house, you like you have a kid, you're now a man.
I'm still waiting.
Yeah, right? Yeah. So the
I got a
format.
hand in my arms. I was like, I'm a man.
I'm a man now. I have to
I'm
shave.
a man.
I'm a man.
But so like the format for it, if you break it down for a male initiation rite, such as circumcision or like a spirit journey or something like that, is basically you are inflicted pain on you that basically attacks your ego in some form. And then elders watch how you deal with pain, and the elders come around you and teach you how to deal with that pain and discomfort. Because that's kind of what a lot of like being a man is like, how do I deal with my pain and my discomfort? Is it anger? Is it rage? I need to not do this. How do I learn how to not do this? I have other people who have done it before tell me, you don't need to act like this. You'll be okay.
You have to be open. I think you have to be open to accept that.
Oh,
criticism.
yeah, without question. Yeah.
I mean, otherwise it's just
It's
cruel
a cultural
punishment.
thing. Yes, it's a cultural thing where, like, yeah, if you are Jewish, your
Let's say
parents
the
did
bar
it,
mitzvah,
your
like-
grandparents did. Yes, it's basically when pain is afflicted on you, like circumcision, how do you react to it? And then your elders are supposed to lead you through that pain and discomfort to teach you how to deal with that.
I would not be down for that.
No, not so much. Well, not that specific kind, but
No, but like I don't think that's an appropriate way to identify when you're a man.
Okay, yeah.
I don't agree with that. What
Sure.
are your? I mean, do you?
I think the discussion of when do you become a man is something that a lot of people don't have. So, like, to me, it's whenever I started to become the type of father I was actually proud to become. Like, whenever I started being more mentally present with my kids, whenever I tuned out a lot of the like noise and all the static that exists in life and actually tried to focus on what I have instead of constantly focus on what I don't.
Yeah, I don't. It's an interesting question.
Yeah.
When did you become a man?
Or what you define as a man.
I think a evolved human with common sense. I mean, honestly.
Yeah,
I mean, there's so you go through puberty. There's a side of maturity that happens there.
Yeah.
But I think in the parenting world,
Yeah.
we're talking about it. I think you have to constantly coach. I mean, you have to encourage mistakes.
Yeah, totally.
And then, when I coach the kids' baseball team, like they get waxed by this team 24-2 or something. It's not you guys are pathetic. I'm not trying to shame them for how bad they play, but I think that's a better outcome than being the 24-2 team because it builds that ego and we're better than you kind of a thing. I think there's more value in sports and having the conversation afterwards to say, hey, let's talk about what happened tonight.
Yeah.
First of all, it's okay to lose and it's okay to not win, but let's look at some of the things that caused the outcome and let's talk about that and let's talk about what we can do in the future. Maybe next time we can contribute in a different way. And it's letting them be okay with themselves. Like when you are finally okay with who you are, then I think you're a man. When you can stop politicking, which is acting a certain way so that other people will, when you're acting a way in which to where other people, you'll elicit a response from somebody.
Yeah.
Acting or not being your genuine self. Like when you're authentically you and you're okay with that.
Yeah.
I think that's when you become a man.
That's fair.
It's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Tell you the truth, I've never even thought about it. I've never thought, I was a man last.
Well,
I became a man last year.
What it means is like when have you,
know.
to some extent, stepped into an identity that you're actually comfortable with. That's kind of what it means. 'Cause
Yeah.
I think I first came across it with I read a lot of Kurt Vonnegut, and whenever he came back from being a POW in Dresden, which was firebombed, so he like dug graves where people were burned alive. His uncle was like, "Now you're a man." And he's like, "This made me a man. Digging up dead bodies of civilians made me a man. That does not make me a man." So I think that's the first time I started to be like, when do you become a man? When do you identify as a man? And there are a lot of like books on male initiation rites that exist out there. So I've read a couple of them, and that's like kind of the general format that it is. But I do think like, yeah, I'm with you. Whenever you're comfortable within your own skin is what I would determine being like self-realized, I guess is a better word for it.
I felt like marriage to me was that thing for me.
Okay.
Like for me, being married, having a wife, like that was a thing to me, I think, for my own male initiation. Like,
yeah.
Okay, I'm kind of like my parents now. Like I'm an adult, like I'm married, I'm committed to some. It's not all about me anymore. Now I'm a provider. Now I'm actually caring for another life. When you become a parent, I think it just multiplies that. Yeah. Because this has nothing to do with me.
It's one of the fascinating things about being a parent is you have the responsibility of helping your kid determine what normal is. And it's basically what you think is normal is what you pass on to your kids. And you're assuming your normal isn't awful. And if it is awful, hopefully you make some changes. But like, what am I doing with my kids? I'm hopefully creating a safe space for them to develop their identities and become someone they want to become.
I have no tattoos. I know you get a tattoo.
You don't have any tattoos?
No, I don't have any tattoos. Do you have any tattoos?
I have 5.
5 tattoos? Do you have tattoos?
I've got 2.
All right. I'm so fascinated with tattoos. When did you get your first tattoo? How old were you?
I was 21, and it was in Seattle, Washington. I got it with my sister. It was the go-to.
You got the guns out. He's pulled the guns out.
I have sleeves. So,
okay,
yeah.
I like that.
Well,
he's
after
actually
Dustin's story,
yeah.
I'll explain.
He's actually got some nice tattoos. My first one was a Chinese symbol of my name. Which,
that's a 21-year-old tattoo.
Exactly.
I've never heard of one.
That is the regret tattoo for sure.
Yeah, it actually says regret. You don't know.
It probably does. Or it probably says something about like, I'm a tool.
Basically, yeah.
Then I've got a yin and yang with a tree and roots on my left shoulder. And that was my logo for my company that I had back when I first graduated from college. So I don't think.
Okay, so what are you? What's your story?
My story is,
mine were very, very, very boring.
Mine are all my family members. So do you know
you have a Joshua tree in your family?
My youngest son,
Josh.
Okay. And then we have
a magnolia.
Yep, Magnolia is my middle child.
Okay.
And then
Holly.
And then this is the hardest one. No one ever gets this one.
Well, I'm a produce guy. I'm gonna call that Heather.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Heather's a plant.
Yep. That there. So, I was like, is it lavender?
It does look like lavender. It is purple. So you did go based off of that.
Okay. I'm a produce guy, so I'm like, I should know these
no,
things.
Heather doesn't. It's actually kind of humorous because Heather doesn't actually grow in the zone that we live in. So we use that as a joke. If Heather's having a bad day, it's like, well, you're not really zoned for this area.
Oh,
that's fantastic. So that's amazing.
Yep.
And so you have the
and I have
trees or the plants based after your children.
All the kids. Yep.
On your arms. Did you intentionally name your children the names of other plants?
We did, yes.
So that you could get the tattoos?
Well, you started with the holly one, and then we're like, shit, now we got a theme. Just
keep going with it.
And then we were like, Magnolia is a cute name. And trying to find a masculine tree name is actually really hard to do.
I bet.
But
Joshua Tree is great.
Joshua Tree is good.
Yeah, Joshua Tree is great.
Besides that, you've got like, I met a sequoia once.
Ooh.
No, not for a dude.
No.
What about oak?
Oak was one.
What's your name? Hickory?
Hickory? Yeah, it's just.
Old Hickory.
So Joshua was the one where like he will probably not be made fun of if we call him Joshua. But all the other ones are like, let's call him Forrest. No.
Forrest is a lot of tattoos.
Yeah.
That's not just one.
Yeah.
You got like a whole
It's like my entire
chest.
back.
It's like, and this is my middle chest. Well, that's a
Oh,
forest.
wow.
I got it.
But yes, so I had started with, I think it was like October.
What is Novo?
Novo is Latin for like rebirth and renewal. So that one's more for me, kind of, because it's kind of like newness, basically, is what it is. Growing up, I always had like a bunch of spiritual leaders who would be like, "Oh, you bring like newness and you need freshness into rooms that you go into." So, or like, like water to dry bones. I think that's in Isaiah, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, I'd like throughout my life, I had like 3 or 4 people mention that to me. And so like there was one day I was standing in a church service and I was like, I think I want to get a tattoo. And then like that word, like think I'd like researched it and that word popped up. So I was like, oh, that's kind of a word that multiple people have said to me. That's an identity that like, I think I'm a better person if I go into a room and I'm like, hey, maybe you can bring life into this room. Maybe you can be refreshing. Maybe you can be loving to people. The other word I've heard for it is if you're centered or not. And that's usually I can tell if you're centered or not. Like if every single person you run into, you're like, man, this person really just rubbed me the wrong way. Or you just go through the day and you're like, man, hopefully I showed some love. Hopefully I was kind. Hopefully I was a decent person. Yeah. But hey, I am who I was today. And here we are.
What if it changes every day?
I think that's actually very human. I think our identities do have a lot of liquidity to them. And that's why having anchors or morals and values, such as like, I got to be kind. I got to give stuff away. I got to not just build my own kingdom are so important because I think our chemicals change so much within ourselves so much. To predict who you are every day is actually like an unfair standard to do for yourself.
Was this what Nashville Dads typically talk about?
It's what I want to talk about.
Yeah. No, I mean, we
like
talk
what
about
your show is about on a regular basis?
To some extent. I mean, just how do you I very much believe, how do I be a decent and kind person every single day?
Sure.
Because I think that's where God actually lives.
Yes, I agree.
So, I mean, sometimes, we get into
do the right thing.
Into philosophical. Yeah. Yeah. Majority of the time it's Devin talking about that stuff. And I'm just like,
that's enough. Yeah.
Like,
I never thought of it that way.
Again.
Oh my God. Will someone please make him stop talking?
Did he just reference Isaiah?
I did reference Isaiah.
Like, what is he doing, man? Like, you don't have to do that.
Once again, I thought this was normal. Does it feel fun? Like, you're normally the one like interviewing. Do you even feel like your podcast is an interview podcast, or is it just all conversation and you're sitting down and hanging out?
It's definitely an interview podcast.
Okay, cool.
I like the more idea of topics that are brought up.
Yeah.
That it's intentional. I think you can just bounce, like, this is fun, bouncing all over the place, but I have a co-host who keeps it all together.
Yeah.
Caroline is amazing, and she's an amazing human being, but she's also really good at this.
Cool.
Mhm.
She keeps me on track,
Nice.
which is amazing.
It's good to have.
Yeah. Am I
Getting
the
to know
first
everybody.
other podcaster that you've
You
had
are.
on?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
That.
okay.
Yeah.
Is there a fun? You guys have like a send off, like
We
a
did-
final thought or
We
something?
had one. No real final thoughts. Normally, when we're in Justin's house, we say like, "I think I hear Ada crying in the other room, so we should probably wrap it up." So that's
Yeah.
normally our go-to send off.
Wrap it up. But man, thanks for having
Yeah.
us.
Thanks for having us. Really
is great.
appreciate it.
This is fun.
We should do it again.
Yeah.
For sure.
Anytime.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well, thanks, man.
Guys.
See you.
We really hope you enjoyed that episode. Please make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at the Nashville Dads. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll catch you next time.